Ben Shapiro destroys anti-Israel activist. No, but seriously, he does. Have a watch.
You don't support the citizens of the people living in Gaza and the West Bank, why you don't support them being able to also live inside of Israel.
Why don't I support them being able to live inside of Israel? Because they would immediately vote to destroy the state of Israel and interpolate another terrorist group like Hamas or the Palestinian Authority, endangering every Jew in the region. Everyone knows this.
I believe the reason why they are religiously extreme is because of the conditions that they live under, because of the actions of America.
That's absurd and foolish. I'm sorry, that's absurd and foolish.
That's not absurd and foolish at all. Okay.
Yeah, and the reason that's absurd and foolish is because religious fundamentalism in the Islamic world did not begin in the year 1948. To pretend otherwise is to ignore literally all of Middle Eastern history. I mean, the fact of the matter is that since the time of Muhammad, and really since the year about 1100, when moderate Islam was pushed off to the side and the printing press was banned, the Islamic world has been replete with fundamentalism and extremism, repression of women, destruction of religious minorities or subjugation of religious minorities. All the happy talk about how everybody was living in some sort of utopian paradise where Jews were treated wonderfully is belied by the actual facts on the ground under the Ottoman Empire, under Arab-speaking empires. Again, this idea that religious fundamentalism is driven by the West is honestly, it's so narcissistic on the part of Westerners to believe that the only reason that religious Muslims believe what religious Muslims believe is because of us. I promise you, religious Muslims don't believe what they believe because of you. They believe what they believe because of what they believe. And it's a soft bigotry of low expectations to pretend that radical Muslims don't have opinions of their own. It must simply be driven by their lack of material success. That is not how the world works. People don't all think like you. You can keep blaming economics until the cows come home. You know what the solution to that would be, by the way? I have a solution for this. If what you're saying is right, I have a solution for this. Here's the solution. In 2005, Israel withdrew from the Gaza Strip. The Gaza Strip is an area that is less population dense than both Singapore and Hong Kong. Hundreds of millions, nay, billions of dollars flowed into the Gaza Strip. If people there, and Hamas in particular, really wanted to develop the lives of their citizens and make them better, they could have, and they should. And yet I see very little demand for that. At a certain point, people are going to have to take responsibility for their own actions and stop blaming America and the West for making shitty decisions.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
I appreciate
it. Crushed. By the way, just so we're clear, I did not play that on double speed. This is Ben Shapiro's speed in which he speaks. It's amazing how some people just have a talent to so quickly puncture other people's arguments. I was actually on a panel with Natasha Hausdorff a few days ago, and she also has this brilliant ability to do that. But I just want to expand on a few of the things that Ben Shapiro said there and this person in the audience said. First of all, the notion that if Israel just said, okay, we're going to create just a one state, it's going to be binational, we're going to, we'll enfranchise all the Arabs living in Judea and Samaria and Gaza, despite since 1947, even before that, the whole purpose was to try and split it into two lands so that there could be a Jewish homeland, a self-determination for the Jewish people. So all those people, even people who are Jewish and claim to be pro-Israel, they're not really, but they just say, let's have one state for everyone. Come on, peace, love, and freedom. It'll be so marvelous. Look at what's happening in Syria right now. You seriously want to tell me that you care about Jewish safety and you think it would all be fine? Look at how minorities right now, the Alawite Muslim minority, Christians in Syria, are being massacred thousands upon thousands right now in the past few days. It's absolutely horrific. But for goodness sake, do I even need to point to that? Look at the last 2,000 years, 3,000 years of Jewish history. But it's 2,000 since the Jewish people were forcibly displaced from their land and exiled. How did they fare in Muslim and Christian lands? I'm sorry, but you clearly have no regard whatsoever for Jewish safety if you think that it would be in any way sensible and safe for Israel to stop being a Jewish majority state. And then I assume this person would respond by saying, yeah, but it's not fair. It's not fair that they all got displaced. They should be able to return to their homes. This comes down to that old bigotry of low expectations that Ben Shapiro is touching on. I don't know how this happens, but basically, the chicken and the egg in the whole Israel-Palestine saga has been turned upside down on its head. The narrative we get from, I assume, a student like this is that Israel is mean. Israel has this original sin of displacing people, so of course they resist. It turns out that actually, just study a little bit of history. Please just spend a few minutes studying the history, and you will see that the chicken and the egg is the other way around. As Ben Shapiro said, the anti-Semitism that exists in these, in the Arab leadership and communities predates the state of Israel. What happened was there were Jews and Arabs living there legally, peacefully. There's no great displacement that's been happening. And then the United Nations said, let's divide the land into two because, the last sovereign state that existed here was a Jewish one 2,000 years ago. Yes, there's plenty of Arabs that have been living here since the Islamic conquest of the 7th century. They don't even consider themselves Palestinians or have a unique identity. They consider themselves Arabs, part of the Arab world. In fact, the UN would have called it, we're going to call it an Arab state, the Arab state, the Jewish state and an Arab state, not a Palestinian state. That was only created later as a way to undermine Israel and create this narrative that they're a unique identity. So they rejected that and went to war against the Jews. And the Jews fought back. And in that war of survival for the Jewish state, many of the Arabs were displaced. In fact, most of them were displaced, not because of what Israel did, but because the Arab armies surrounding them said, leave, come back once we've thrown the Jews into the sea. And now that's our fault. That's the Jewish people's fault. And now Israel should have a suicidal policy of saying, yeah, all come back, no problem at all. It's utterly outrageous. Millions of refugees were created in that same year when India and Pakistan were created. Millions of Hindu and Muslim refugees. And no one's talking about the right of return there. No one's calling for that. The hypocrisy and the obvious total disregard for Jewish safety and Jewish rights to their indigenous ancient homeland is unacceptable. And what happens is, time and again, the chicken and the egg is the wrong way around. Like as Dr. Inat Wolf says, they say the checkpoints, the security checkpoints, that is what creates Arab anger. No, there's Arab anti-Semitism, and that's why we have to have the checkpoints. You're getting the chicken and the egg the wrong way around the whole time. I was on a panel with someone a few days ago, and this person was, very left-leaning, and they said that, if Israel wants to do more to help the cause of peace, I don't know, let's start off with stopping the settlements. It's so tiresome. There were no settlements prior to 1967. But there was 2 wars to try and obliterate the Jewish state. 48 and 67. No settlements then. The whole thing is just delusional. And as Ben Shapiro points out, there's also this narrative we see where people say, well, yeah, Hamas has a few bad eggs, but the Palestinian Society deserve better. The majority of them, it seems, from polling, from testimonies we're getting from the hostages, from the fact that we're not hearing any stories of any righteous person standing up to help a Jew in Gaza, those hostages. There were 30,000 stories of righteous among the nations in Nazi Europe. And I'm not saying every single Arab is bad. I'm not saying that at all. And, I believe that one day there will be a reconciliation, but certainly not a two-state solution approach. It will have to be a very different approach. And I want to see everyone thriving. But the question is, are we actually going to look at reality as it is on the ground right now? And this bigotry of low expectations, where you basically say, no, you just hate Israel because you've just been treated badly, and it is so condescending, it's so patronizing. It's bigotry because you're having such low expectations of people to think that their whole identity is just shaped by a lack of material wealth. As I covered in a clip I saw recently, that is one of the fundamental mistakes made on the progressive left. They assume that if people just have basic material needs met, then they'll be happy and fine. Completely ignores the fact that human beings need a sense of purpose, a sense of meaning, a sense of belonging to a tribe and identity that transcends materialism. And that's what's going on here. Bin Laden himself comes from a super wealthy family. It's so childish. And it really represents a certain vacuousness in thinking that exists on the progressive left and the anti-Israel side. And it really takes away any agency. And I have to say that the reason why I think the word bigotry is so applicable is because if I was part of a genuine resistance movement, like let's say I don't know, after my grandparents' generation were freed, liberated from the horrors of Nazi Europe, if they started going around just killing German children and raping German women, etc., etc., I would not stand by and say, oh, it's resistance. And that's what people try to do on the anti-Israel side. It's the bigotry of low expectations. It's unacceptable. And we have to start just stating the truth plainly. The Palestinian cause, from beginning till end, I'm afraid to say, is one big lie. Hi, thank you so much for watching. To watch another one, click here. To stay up to date with all our content, click here to subscribe. And if you're able to, you can help support JTV to grow and grow by clicking join below this video, where you can become a member and get perks including early access to videos and private live discussions with me. But most of all, you'll be partnering with us on our mission to change the world.